easy go.
What's going on, guys? DFS Voice Strike here. I'm joined by my friend Golf Guru Greg. Greg, what's going on, man?
Oh man, last week was crazy. What a week it was. John Deere, Glover came out of nowhere and won. This week we're here at the Open Championship all the way across the world. Oh man, I couldn't be more excited. I tweeted it a couple of days ago. I may or may not have taken work off to watch the first day.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting tournament. Remember, it's the early start time. Like Greg said, they're all the way across the world. I have the 1:35 a.m. start time. I know your time frame's different, but so all my stuff will be set before I go to bed, and I'll end up waking up to watch it early in the morning. But other than that, guys, we're going to do things a little bit different. We're just going to kind of add something into this section here. Golf Guru Greg is actually going to do a course breakdown for us and kind of just go through each of the courses and everything like that and just give you a little bit of details. And I think me in particular, this is something that can really help with showdowns throughout the weekend. So Greg, you want to take it over?
Yeah,
right there.
so the reason I want to throw this out there for you guys, just so you can understand what kind of each hole brings. You know, some holes dog legs right, some holes dog leg left. A couple of easy holes, a couple of hard holes. We're just going to kind of go over each one, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. So it's a par 70 this week, 7,189 yards. It's not the longest course. Bent grass greens. You want guys who putt well on bent grass. And a couple of key stats we're looking at. I'm looking at driving accuracy this week. We saw a tweet actually that my buddy Warstrike sent me from Richard Bland, who's not hit it in the rough this week.
Yeah, he said avoid it at all costs because it's one of the thickest he's ever seen.
Yep. So. Then you want to hit greens, and if you're not, you want to be good around the green, and then putting, obviously. So it's kind of, you need to be good at everything. But the reason you want to hit greens, a lot of the greens will slope down. You're going to need to be able to hit some chip shots, hit them, bump them into the hill, land them on, roll them out. Okay, let's jump right into each hole. First hole's a par 4. It's 445 yards. It's a dog leg right. You want to hit a cut. So, you know, typically guys who hit a cut, you think of DJ, you think of JT, you know, it probably sets up really well for them. Not too hard of a hole. Second hole's a little bit of a dog leg left. It's a par 4 as well, 421 yards. It's a short hole. You want to hit more of a draw on this hole. So what we're looking for typically after these first two holes is someone who can shape the ball in almost both ways. So that, you know, that's kind of something you guys will, you know, look into a little bit, be like, okay, who can hit the ball? You know, who can play a draw, who can play a cut? I know right off the top, Rahm is someone, you know, you typically think he plays a little bit of a cut, but he can also play a draw at times too, which is why we'll talk about him later, but you know why I like him. So third hole, it's a pretty straight hole, 240-yard par 3. This is tough because you want to be able to get a guy who hits the ball a little bit longer. Now you get a guy who hits it shorter. You think of, you know, off the top of the head, maybe Coulter, you know, he's not the longest guy. So this is going to be a more challenging hole for like him, Ches Reavie, you know, 240 yards. That's a long poke. They're hitting, you know, a hybrid or a 3-wood into a hole like this. Fourth hole, a little bit of a dog leg left, but you can hit a cut or a draw either way. 491 yards. Fifth hole, it is a dog leg left as well. Either shot works, 422 yards. So there's a couple of bunkers in the fairway on this course that you guys are going to want to avoid, you know, if you're playing certain guys. And there's a lot of rough right in front of the green. Pretty easy hole if you hit the fairway on this one. I'm going to do another par 375 yards, pretty straight. Seventh hole, one of the easiest holes. Warstrike, actually, we were talking about this hole. It's a 45% birdie chance.
That's
that these
crazy. Yeah, that is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, do not fall behind the curve on this hole. You are going to want to birdie this hole.
Yeah.
You know, you pick a guy, you need to get there in 2, make, you know, 2 putts and make a birdie. You know, you're getting there in 3, you got a 15, 20 footer, you make a par. No bueno. This is a hole you have to birdie. 500.
You got to birdie that hole.
Yeah. So other than that, 8th hole, dog leg right, bunkers 281 and 289 yards in the fairway. So like I said, you want to get someone who can almost carry that. You know, you think Bryson, but at the same time, you got to be accurate. 450-yard hole, that is. 9th hole's pretty straight, 329 yards and 337 yards down. There's bunkers right in the middle of the fairway. The problem is with these bunkers is they're not easy to get out of. They're pot bunkers. So what that is they have slopes in front, which are going to be tough to get to the green. So you want to stay out of these bunkers and really focus on hitting the fairway, which is something Warstrike and I talked about to start the show. You really got to hit fairways here. And I don't think that's being emphasized enough this week. 10 holes straight, pretty easy, 415 yards. 11 holes a par 3, another 238 yard par 3. You got to hit it that far too. There's no layup area. It's just the green in front and a lot of rough right in front of it. So that's somewhere you got to hit it about 230, 240 and get there. 12th hole, 379 yard short hole, dogleg right, cuddle play. The bunker's in the fairway again. 13th hole, another par 4, 456 yards. Cut will play on this hole too. And 14th hole, pretty straight. Don't go right, this is a par 5. Don't go right on your second shot because there's OB in trouble to the right. 15 is a long par 4, 496 yards. This to me is the hardest hole. There's bunkers in play off the tee. And it's a really small green. It's about 30 feet long, which is the other greens are about 40 to 50 feet comparable. This is a pretty short one. 16 is a pretty easy par 3. 17 straightish hole, 426 yards, not too hard. And then 18 is a tough hole to finish. There's bunkers about 300 yards down the middle, which you want to stay out of. Like I said, those bunkers are pop bunkers. They are going to be tough to get out of. Big green on 18 though. So if you can hit the green, you probably make a par, get out of there. That's kind of our course breakdown. So take it as you may. Like I said, there's some shots you need to play a draw, some shots you need to play a cut, something you guys will kind of determine as you go through it. And hopefully, you get guys who can play a little bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. You need a very balanced weekend from your golfers, especially in every category and stuff like that. You got to have the accuracy, you got to have the chip shots, and then the putting. So my approach, honestly, and you took kind of the same similar approach, is a lot of us were avoiding the people from the United States, really. I think we were looking more towards the European and people overseas players and stuff like that. Probably more or less because they're more familiar with this type of atmosphere and stuff like that. But other than that, guys, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe going into it. The way we do things here is we go through each tier pricing section and just kind of do a breakdown on who our favorite plays are. But with that being said, we're going to get started right away. And Greg, who's your favorite in the 10 plus range?
10 plus range. I got to go with my favorite golfer on this whole slate, Jon Rahm. He had a little bit of a struggle a couple months ago. I think what was going on with him was his wife was pregnant at the time. He had a lot going on mentally. Once his wife gave birth, and I kid you not, we had a change in golfers. I mean, the guy was about to win the Memorial, had to withdraw due to COVID on the last day. Very unfortunate. Came back the next week or 2 weeks and won the U.S. Open. Last week came out, got 7th in the Scottish Open. Didn't really putt the ball well. And for me, this is a guy who's been putting well. He's been playing really well. He hits his irons solid. I don't think the trip to the UK is much of a problem for this guy. Like I said, that's Scottish Open last week, 7th. This is just a guy who's good off the tee. He's good with his irons. He's good around the green. He's good putting. He's got the all-around game that I'm looking for here. There's a reason he's 7-1. He is the best golfer in the world right now. And honestly, I think he could easily go back-to-back majors.
Yeah, honestly, I probably wouldn't be too surprised here either. He is one of probably my favorite too as well in the 10 plus K range. Just even based, like you said, he got 7th last weekend. Even at the US Open on his good drives gained, it was 7.1. Like that is extremely high. Like his GIR gain, which is something that was important to me as well going into this weekend. It was at 7.7. So like his driving game has been relentless here within the last couple of weeks as well. I think his shortest one out of his last 6 tournaments, not counting the Scottish, was at 2 strokes gained in the GIR. So I'm huge on Rahm. I think not really a surprise really for anybody here. Rahm is the best golfer to me right now. But I'm not really going to have any exposure to anybody else. I think DJ's a fade for me. Xander, I think, is overpriced. Brooksy, I think, is going to have high ownership. And Rory, I think, is overpriced as well. I don't really want to take my shots on Rory winning this thing, even though I got to see him win at Wells Fargo. But I don't really think I see him winning here. So other than that, I'm really not, me personally, I'm not going to have exposure to really anybody else besides Rahm at that price.
Yeah, and the thing is with Rom, you plug him in, you almost feel safe. He's almost that security
Yeah.
blanket, that pacifier for babies, as one of my friends likes to say. It's a safe play. He's got a lot, going on for him. Just
Yeah.
he really brings it to the table. Other than that, I think Kepka is an okay play. I'll give you guys. I wanted to give you guys a quick stat on Kepka. I was watching Golf Channel earlier. Kepka since 2017 in majors is 84 under.
Yeah.
Next closest is DJ at 23 under. So he's
Mm.
61 strokes better. And this is since 2017. So 2017 up till now, Kepka's 84 under in majors, which is phenomenal. I mean, I don't remember the last time he
Right.
was at a major. So
Yeah.
be weary fading Kepka. I won't have too much of him. Just
Me personally, I just don't see him winning, and that's something that we kind of stick with when it comes to, like, for me with the 10 plus game. Like Rom, I can easily see him coming in just
yeah,
smoking everybody in this tournament.
right. Mhm.
And like so, like at 11-3, I'm willing to pay that. Kepka, he'd probably be the second option for me here, but I don't see him winning this thing. I can see him competing for it.
And he did also come out and say on Golf Channel, I was watching his interview, he did say this course doesn't really fit his eye. There's a lot of blind shots and a lot of it's a lot of undulation on the
Right.
fair on the greens. So it's just something just because he doesn't like it though doesn't mean he's not going to play
Doesn't
well.
mean he's not going to play. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just something that he's not used to and he doesn't really enjoy playing at. So
Yeah,
it would
I
be
think
like
I saw a tweet about that, about him saying that, and then somebody was like, "Yeah, he's winning confirmed." Everybody was like, "Yeah, lock and he's winning." So, um, but do you like Rory or Xander at all?
yeah, no, I'm not on Rory. I don't like what he did at the Scottish Open, aka me
Mhm.
missed the cut. And then
Mhm.
Xander, just I can't spend 10,000 on Xander when I'd rather spend I mean in the 9Ks I don't know if I'm playing it, but Thomas is 9,600. I'd rather play, in my opinion, Thomas is a better golfer than Xander. I'd rather play
Mhm.
him over Xander if I was to play, one of the two. So I do, like you said, the price is a little expensive. Rory also is expensive. And then DJ, in my order, it would be Rom, Brooks, DJ, Xander, Rory. Kind of, I think same as yours. I
Yeah.
can't get behind Rory or Xander and DJ. Mm.
Yeah, I'm the same way with DJ. It's the same exact words for me. Yeah, I don't DJ. I'm just not feeling. But okay, getting over into the 9K. You want to start this one off?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit on the 9K. So I'll give you guys one of my main plays from the 9K. I'll give you one fade. I'll actually start with the fade. So Colin Morikawa is a guy I'm probably not going to be on too much. I don't really, a couple of reasons. I think his ownership's going to come in a little bit too high.
Hmm.
And something I watched, another thing on golf, I was watching a lot of Golf Channel today just to get, a lot of interviews I saw, a lot of good stuff. He was using blades last week at the Scottish Open, and the greens or the fairways were different grass types than back at the States, and
Hmm.
that really screwed him up. He said so. He's switching from blades to a different type of iron. And I was talking to War Strike, like we talked about. If his approach game isn't there, he's going to miss the cut or just not play well. So
Hmm.
I don't quite see how Morikawa, unless he really dials the irons in within the week, I don't quite see how his short game is good enough to propel him to the next level and win him this golf tournament. And I think in the 9K, especially if we're going with Rom or Brooks, we need someone in case one of those two guys don't win to win this golf
To
tournament,
win
right?
it. Yeah.
I just don't quite think Colin has what it takes to win. I don't know. I don't know how you're feeling about Colin. I know we talked about him a little bit, but
Hmm.
if you want to give a little bit about him.
I'm for Colin. I know the blade thing is kind of scary, but I guess got me on him. One, he came in 10th on the model for me. Um, but his approach game has been phenomenal for him, I think, over the past like month or so. His off the tee game has been pretty strong as well. He's kind of just evened out or at least gained strokes on off the tee. His around the green the last couple weeks or at the US Open, then the Memorial was fourth and second. I'm for him. The only thing that's really to me scary with him is putting. He's a horrible putter. that's really the only thing that probably holds him back from being the best golfer in the world, in my
True.
opinion. He just can't putt, and that's something that I think can really bite him on this course, especially with the roughs being as bad as they are and stuff like that. He's going to have to make putts going into this weekend. And that's something that I'm not too sure if he can do it or can't do it. So at 9,200, I think it's pricey. But for GPP, I'm probably going to have some exposure to him just because I think he can be explosive.
Okay. I can
Uh,
jump into, you want me to jump into one of my plays?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'll give you guys one that I'm looking at. I am highly attracted to Tyrrell Hatton this week. This guy, I think, in my opinion, he is one of the better plays. I know he's a little pricey, a little bit more pricey than you may think, but he's one of
Mhm.
the better plays here. He's been playing pretty well. You see that second right there at the Palmetto US Open. He missed the cut, had a bad second round, but came back at the Scottish Open. He's returning to his home area, from England. And I just think that he's gonna be able to play well here. It just sets up in my eyes as a home course advantage and home
Yep.
field advantage in basketball or football. It really gives you that edge. And I think Hatton's going to get that edge this week. Like I said, played well at the Scottish Open, had a fire to 65 in round 4. And something I really like about him, look at his numbers. He just gains in every aspect of his game. Off the tee, he gains strokes, approach, he gains strokes around the green and putting. He gains strokes, and everything that he does just really tells me that he has a chance to win here. I think that's why his salary is what it is. I think 9,000, I think it's a little high, but I think it's fair because of the fact that I think he has that chance of winning this golf tournament.
Mhm.
Like I said, he's back home, man. He's ready to go. And I think this is a guy you can play and be happy about and feel safe that he's going to make the cut.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you when it comes to Hatton. I think the England thing is really probably a huge favor for him going into this weekend. And he finished 18th at Scottish, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I am for Hatton as well. I think Hatton's a great play, especially probably being the lower price of the 9K people too. So I do like him. My personal favorite play from here is Luis. I think Luis is a great option here to pair up if you're going to go with Rom or Brooks or whoever you're going to pair up with at the top. You can just see here at the US Open second, PGA Championship second, 18th, and then 8th. I think that's been very great for him. His putter, he has gained strokes in his putting dating back all the way until August 9th of 2020. So like his putting has been amazing. At the US Open, he gained 7 strokes putting. His around the green was at 3. His approach was at 4. So I do think that he's viable to. If I don't think Rom's going to win, I do like Luis here, especially if he has his driving game on. I think Luis could potentially take this only because like his GIR gain's been high too. At the US Open, finishing second, his good drives was at 5. At the PGA, he finished second. His good drives gained were at 5 strokes as well. So I do think Luis has potential upside to possibly take this tournament if his driving game's on point like it was at those 2 tournaments. Um, the big thing to me was the US Open with finishing second. I think that was a big thing to me, just showing he can play in big tournaments and stuff like that. So I do like to see that. That makes me feel more comfortable that he'll compete in big tournaments and stuff like that. And then plus it's an overseas guy, so that's something that's big for me too going into this weekend.
Yeah, there's a reason they call him Sweet Swing and Louie. I mean, this guy, he has a
Yeah,
superb swing. He hits a lot of fairways. His approach game has been better, like you talked about. That's one thing that, really lacked for him in the past and that he's really
yeah,
improved is his iron play. The putting is always there with Usti, in
always.
there. Green game is there too. This is a guy at 9,300, you plug and chug and, like I said, you feel safe with this guy. He's just a
Yep,
guy. He's going to make the cut and he's going to play well. So
yep. A
really,
lot of Go
yeah,
ahead.
Hatton or Usti. I mean, one of the two.
Yeah, even if you want to
Talk a little
fade
bit about
Rom and
this.
them,
Yeah,
even if you
okay.
want to fade Rom and them and you put Louis and Hatton together, like
Yeah,
that honestly would not be a terrible decision if you really don't want to pay up for that 10 plus K range.
very true. And at that point, then you can bring like Spieth into the equation.
Yep.
We can even talk a little bit about this guy. I
Hmm.
mean, the numbers with Spieth speak for himself. I was watching a Rick Run Good video, and he was saying Spieth's been the best golfer of 2021. And, I mean, that is a good argument. I
No,
mean, the guy's played
yeah,
phenomenal. You see it right there. The numbers speak for themselves. This is a guy who you also roster, and I wouldn't feel as comfortable rostering him and feeling like he would make the cut just because there is a little bit more volatility with Spieth to miss the
mhm,
cut. But this is a guy I'm also pretty high on, and I'm not afraid to plug him in. He can shape the ball both directions, which is something I was talking about earlier. He can hit a draw, he can hit a cut, which I like, in his short game is second to none. I mean, it seems like every week there's magic around the greens, and I mean, worst
yeah,
right, you feel the same way. I'm sure you watch this guy. He hits a chip from 30 yards, and it miraculously he goes in the hole. It's like, dude, I
yeah,
mean, the guy's short game is the best on tour, first and right in front of Reed's probably. So this is another guy that you can roster, and this guy can win.
yeah. No, I do like Spieth. It's crazy to think the 2020 Spieth and the 2021, how much of a difference it's been.
Mhm.
It's been a huge difference with him, with the way this year's changed for him. I mean, because he won the Texas Open, the Valero Texas Open. He won there, and then Charles Schwab. I know he placed top five. I can't remember where he finished, but I mean, to me honestly, like I do think he's safe to make the cut, and he has high upside.
Mhm.
That's how, I mean, I'm with you on Spieth. I think Spieth would be great.
Yeah, and I think really with Spieth this week, it's off the tee.
Yeah,
If he hits fairways, his approach game is so good that he misses, and that's the great thing about Spieth. If he misses a green, he's going to chip up and make a par. And it's short game's that good in his approach game off the tee. If he's got it off the tee, he has a chance to win.
yeah. All right. So moving into the 8K, just me personally, I'm not particularly liking too much in this range. Um, but Greg, do you have anybody in here that you want to point out in particular for them?
Oh man, Cantlay I like, but his ownership might be a little bit high, which I'm
Yeah,
scared about. And then we talked about Reed. I'll let you talk about him in a little bit, but Casey, I just can't really get behind Casey this week. Will Z, the putter, really scares me, especially overseas. His course is just completely different. Finau, I don't even know who Tony
um,
Finau. I'm just kidding.
yeah,
No, but Finau, man, I don't know. That's rough for me. Webb has been playing so bad.
so bad.
Scheffler's been playing good, but I don't know if I trust him over here.
Hmm.
For me, all the way down, we go to Fleetwood. That's probably the only guy that I would get on in the 8K range. Like I
Yeah,
said, from the area, his off the tee is something that he struggles with. But if he can hit fairways this week, I think he's fine because his short game is around the green and putting are good enough to scrape his way around and make pars. And that's what you need this week. Real quick, and a fun fact that I saw, or a bet that I actually saw, was the over under on the cut was plus 4.5, minus 125 over, and the under was minus 105. So they're expecting the cut to be 5 plus 5 for you guys back home. So you can kind of get an idea of what the odds
what they
makers
expect.
are expecting the cut to be. So, like I said, you want to make pars. I think Fleetwood is a guy who really, I mean, if you look at his numbers, he's not going to make too many birdies. He's not going to make too many bogeys. He makes a lot of pars. So
Yeah,
I could get behind. I think I'll probably put him in a couple of GPP lineups. Definitely not cash, but GPP definitely. I think his ownership will come in probably sub 10. I'm thinking 7.5 to 10, 11% maybe. So
hmm,
it's a guy that I'll probably be rostering a little bit.
yeah. I think really in the 8K range alone, outside of Cantlay and Reed, I don't really see anybody that I'd really want to start playing in cash.
Mhm.
Not really. I mean,
I think Reed
I
and
would,
cash is safe.
yeah, like I said, Reed and Cantlay just because the ownership, but I mean maybe Adam Scott if you had to go low ball there for cash at least.
Yeah.
I mean he has been decent with the putter the last couple weeks, and then what the U.S. Open he placed 35th. But I do like Patrick Reed. The only thing here for me is just it's going to be hard to get to his price tag, especially with I will have Rom in a lot of my lineups. So with him being that high price, it will be kind of hard for me to go with Patrick Reed here. But like if you guys can afford him, I recommend going to him. I think he's obviously a great birdie player, 15, 15, 10, 16. So like if you want to go Patrick Reed, I do recommend it. It's just going to be kind of tough to go into that range. just in my opinion. But I will try to have pretty much as I can here at the U.S. Open. He got 19th place. I think he'll be fine going into this tournament. Like I said, just really the only issue is getting to the price point and then feeling comfortable with your other plays that you put into that spot.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. For those of you guys watching, if you do end up on ROM and a 9K guy, it will be tough to roster Reed just because of how much money it will leave you left on the table. So.
And then for me, it's I would rather have Louis and Hatton over Reed. So I would rather pay up for those two over Reed just because I think they have more upside, especially winning upside than what Reed does going into the weekend. And that's really where I'm just sitting with those two over him. Even though I like the price point, I don't want to fade the 9K range over Patrick Reed. So
agreed, 100%.
But with that being the 8K range, let's jump down to the 7.
Awesome. Yeah. So 7K range. I'll give you guys a couple of names that I'm looking at. We'll start with Neiman. Neiman for me, it's the form. He finished second, was bogey free through 72 holes at the Rocket Mortgage, and come the 73rd hole, he makes his first bogey and finds himself out of the playoff. I mean,
that was a heartbreaker.
I was happy about it. I had Cam Davis, but for
Neiman,
but for Neiman, he played really well. I think the form is there. That's the guy I'm really looking at for form. I think he's got the game. He's got the off the tee game, got the approach game, and his putter's been working. Yeah, that was something we talked about actually that week, was that his putter was working. We'll go down to a little bit lower of the 7K range. And one other guy that I'm really looking at, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys, is Guido Migliozzi. Guido, man, this guy just continues to be on a tear. His numbers are so good. You see it right there. Second at the British Masters, made in Himmerland second, fourth at the US Open, Travelers 13th, 35th at the Scottish Open. The guy's from Italy. He can play anywhere. He plays here in England. He plays in the States. He just seems to get it done wherever he plays. What really impresses me is that average right there, 69.1. He knows how to make, look at it right there, 17, 17, 12, 25, and 16. His birdies are insane. Makes a little bit of too many bogeys at sometimes, but like I said, par is good at this course. If he's making birdies, makes a couple bogeys here and there, as long as he's making those birdies that make up for it. Let's jump into a little bit with Guido. Let's get you some numbers because I'm curious. I know I saw him earlier. His numbers rate out well. We don't have too much on him just because he is more of a Euro guy. But, from what we have on him, he's a good approach player, and his putting and around the green is solid. His off the tee is something to look at, but it's, he's still, the 2 tournaments he's played here, Travelers and US Open, that we have numbers on, his off the tee, his approach is really good. And it's just a guy that plays really well. I think for 7,100, it's a guy you could get to.
Yeah, I definitely think he's possibly a low-owned guy as well. And I mean, one thing that I like, just looking right here, is look at his Euro finishes. That's something to look at. I mean, second, and then 35th. Like I definitely think that's something to look at here going into that. I think it's good plays. US Open even getting 4th. That's actually really impressive. So like as a low owned play, it's just kind of like, why not at that point, 7,100? I think he can be viable to make the cut and be a great play going into the weekend.
Exactly. And when we give you guys these plays in the 7K, 6K range, really all we're looking for is that they make the cut, because when we get down to this range, I don't expect these guys to win, and you shouldn't either back home. These guys specifically, for those of you watching, we want them to make the cut. That's our goal at the end of the day. They make the cut, they get us points Saturday, Sunday. That's all we need.
Yep. All right. So somebody that I like is actually up at the 7K range. Matthew Fitzpatrick is somebody I'm in. Another England guy that I'm into going into this weekend. The Scottish Open, he actually finished second, and then the U.S. Open, it was kind of rough. It was really round 2 and 4 where it got bad for him. But his off the tee game has been great. I think he's had a great tee game over the last couple of weeks. For me, the putting, if it's there, he has top 10 potential. if it's there. That's the issue with me with him. If it's not there, then I really just see him placing more in the mid 20s or 30s. But I think he's definitely going to need his putter and his around the green game this weekend. Like you see at Palmetto, for example, he had 5.3 strokes gained putting and he finished 10th. Like I can easily see that happening as long as he has the putter going into the weekend. The tee game's not really what's going to affect me. It's the short game on what I'm going to pay attention to going into the weekend with him. But I think out of the higher tier, the 7K players, I think Fitzpatrick's probably one of my favorite plays. Um, I like a few in this range. So Jason Day is another one for me. I think he's a good play going into the weekend. For me personally, it just seems like he just always hurts me. But I mean, 14th and 10th the last couple of tournaments that he's played in, and just giving you a couple of the little stats. I mean, 4 strokes game putting, 3 strokes game putting. At the Travelers where he got 10th, he gained strokes in every category. His off the tee game's been great. So his approach game the last couple of weeks as well. His around the greens usually something that's always there for him. So I do think Jason Day going into this weekend, I think could be a great play for you as well. Um, and then my last one is Ian Poulter right here. Once again, the England player. Ian Poulter, I think, has actually had like really good couple of tournaments. He finished 4th last week at the Scottish Open, which was something that was good for him. And just right here, he came in 4th into my model as well. So that was once I saw that, I looked into him a little bit deeper and actually liked him now. His putting game's usually always there. For me, it's really, like you said earlier at the beginning of the show, it's the tee game. So if the tee game's there, I think he's going to have a great placement. I'm really at his price range. I think that it's going to be a good option for him to go with, mainly because his around the green and putting is really solid. So if he can just stay on the fairway, distance isn't really going to matter. So I just need him to stay on the fairway, and then I trust him chipping it onto the green, and then at least 2 putting it or whatever hole it's on. So, but those are my favorite plays going into the 7K range. Do you have anybody else that you want to mention?
Yeah, I was gonna actually give you a stat real quick on. First of all, Fitzpatrick, great play. Day scares me just because he, always has that withdraw, idea. But Day, I easily could be a good play because of the form. Poulter, I love the play as well. Real quick with Fitzpatrick though, he has not lost strokes off the tee dating back to 11/22/2020 at the RSM Classic, meaning since February, the restart, to now, he has gained strokes off the tee. You typically think of Fitzpatrick as a good putter, a good chipper, the golf ball approach play, and driving, but the guy off the tee is phenomenal. This guy, there's a reason he almost won the Scottish Open. He actually had a chance to win the Scottish Open.
Had a chance.
Just a couple putts coming down the stretch I was watching at home. He had a good chance to win this tournament. He should have gotten first, realistically. So Fitzpatrick, a great play. I think this guy for 7,900 is money. So I'll agree with you on that. Other than that, 7K, I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of guys. I'm very indifferent about Shane Lowry. I know he is the defending champ, but just not my favorite play.
Yeah.
Someone that I think you could play. I know a lot of people are high on him, but very indifferent. I'm very indifferent on him. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on him. Cam Smith, the same way. I think Cam Smith off the tee and approach just quite isn't there for me. And then I wanted to jump into Answer. Now, Answer is a guy who was coming in. I know on both of our models, you guys know we make custom models coming, of what the key stats. So this guy just, I think he was first or second in mine. Same with you, third or fourth, maybe.
He came in third on mine, yeah.
Answer, I don't like this guy that much. Well, here's my thing. What I'll do with Answer is, and I just decided this about a minute or two ago, I'll put a top 20 bet on him, depending on how much I like him, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. If you like him that much, throw 100 plus bucks on him to make the top 20 and forget about him in DFS, because this guy's going to be 15 to 20% owned. And I am not going to play a guy named Abraham Answer for 15 to 20% at a major championship. Personally, for you guys watching, go ahead if you want. If you want to beat the chalk, go ahead. I will pivot to Fitz, who's a better player, or Guido for 7,100. I cannot play answer at that ownership. And like I said, if you want to bet on him, go ahead. There's no chalk when it comes to betting. Who cares? You know, if he wins, he wins. Or if he gets top 20, he gets top 20.
I mean, honestly, I think if he's gonna play well, it's gonna be an easy top 20 finish for him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that's what he's shown the last couple weeks. If you get outside the Euro Cut and the U.S. Open, 4th, 14th, 8th, 2nd, 5th, 18th, he's been on a roll. Honestly,
do look good.
Yeah, to me, I just think he's just the hot streak's just coming down a little bit. I'm starting to see a decline because like just starting to watch him since I've watched him in person at Wells Fargo. Since like then, I've started to see it bit by bit kind of creep up for him of him coming back down to earth. So that's the only reason why I'm sketchy with him. One person that I wanted us to talk about, I wanted to get your thoughts on him first. Is 7,300.
Ooh, Harris.
Harris.
Yep.
Yeah,
I knew.
Yeah, Harris English.
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about Harris, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we need to stay in this range and talk about a couple more guys after we talk about Harris, just because the guys at home, if they are starting with Rom and then going with like Louis or Tyrrell Hatton, we are going to have to roster a lot of these 7K guys. So this is good. We're diving into a couple of these guys. War Strike, but Harris, you know, you look at him, and I'm looking at his numbers right now. He's a really good approach player, and he's a really good. Those are two things that he does really well. If this guy, I mean, look at the numbers right there, 3rd at the U.S. Open, 1st at the Travelers. His form is immaculate right now. This guy just knows how to play golf. He's on a tear. His short game is good. His ball striking is good. We'll dive into his numbers at the Travelers. Let's see what he did really well. His putting was probably his best, and then his off the tee was really good. So from there, what we can take into consideration is, okay, his off the tee, which is one of his weaker categories, was really good at the Travelers, and his approach was a little bit weaker. Maybe that approach gets stronger and his off the tee kind of stays where it's at. Then he's really good in his ball striking, and his putting and around the green stay where they're at. This guy easily has a chance to, in my opinion, make the top 10, if not have a chance to finish top 5. I don't know if he can win, but you know, it's Harris English, and he's won twice this year, which is tied for the best on tour. A really good play, in my opinion. I would not be afraid of this guy. And if his ownership creeps up to 15, I still wouldn't be afraid, just because he is that good of a player right now.
Yeah. I tally off that, and it's more or less that I've done a little bit more research as this show's going on just on him. Picking off what you said, also adding on to his stats, his fairways gained at the Travelers was 6.1 strokes gained. He's gained strokes in 3 straight tournaments going off the fairways, and in his good drives have actually been really high. It's 7.5, 4.1, and 4.9. And then his GIR, he's gained for 9 straight tournaments. So I think Harris is honestly a great play at 7,300. And now that we've like talked about him, I think I'm feeling more confident on him. And then I know one that we talked about as well was Ricky. I want to go to Ricky. I think he's a decent play. Only GPP. I don't think outside of that, I wouldn't really go to other cash with him or anything.
Not at all.
But the Rocket Mortgage, he did okay. I mean, his approach, his off the tee, his putting was pretty much just decent. Nothing outside spectacular. I was on him earlier in the day, but I think now more or less that I've just like saw Harris English and listened to you talk about him, and then me looking more into it as well. I'm thinking more. I'm probably just gonna ride with Harris English over Ricky.
Yeah.
I just don't trust Ricky. I don't think he's safe for me to play. I mean, GPP, I may have a lineup or two with him, but I don't trust Ricky.
And no offense to Ricky Fowler, if he is watching, which he's not, but I think there are better golfers for $7,200 to $7,400 on DraftKings that I would rather play, named Thomas Detry, Harris English, Robert McIntyre, and Christian Bezuidenhout. I like all 4 of those guys better than Ricky. And I like all four of those guys in general. So if you are contemplating McIntyre or Bezuidenhout, they are good plays. And Ricky, for me, I want to play Ricky because he's been playing better, but there's something in my gut, and you told me this, trust your gut. There's something in my gut
Yeah.
telling me stay away from Ricky, and I don't know why.
Yeah. I was okay with him up until now, the Harris English conversation, and now I'm just like, well, why would I even mess with him when I can just get Harris English? So that's our thoughts with them. I mean, we just gave a bunch of 7K plays out for you guys, so that should be very viable, and it's really all over 7K. Really, we went from the high tiers of 7K to the middle down to the bottom. So dropping down to 6K. Is there anybody you want to mention before I dive in with who I like?
Yeah, no, the reason, and that's the reason I want to stay on 7K is 6K. I
Okay.
don't really have anyone really that I wanted to talk about. The only guy that I actually like, and you guys might not even know who this is Marcus Armitage. He's a UK guy. He plays a lot of Euro events. Very volatile. Sometimes he'll, top 10, or he'll just completely miss the cut. He's 6,400 this week. And, he's a guy who typically hits the ball a decently long way, and his around the green game is good. His putting's not great, but he did win about a month ago, I believe. It was at I have it right here. It was at the Porsche European Open a month ago in June, which was a pretty tough course. And he shot 8 under and won that tournament. So, this is a guy that I'm willing to take a flyer on in the 6K range, just because he's from the area. When it gets windy, these guys, something I don't know if you guys know back home, but when it gets windy, you typically want to hit the ball lower. And these Euro guys, they have a lower ball flight than the United States guys. One of my best friends that I went to college with, he was a Euro guy, and he hit the ball lower than and lower than anyone I've really seen, just because I hadn't really played with many guys. He was a Scottish guy, and these guys, they just know how to hit the ball low because of the wind, because of the air, and just how the ball gets hung up. And really, it's tougher to find the fairway. Once you hit a lower ball, it's easier to find the fairway than you're hitting it high. So, Armitage is a guy who plays around the area. He's a Euro guy. He knows how to hit low shots. He knows how to hit certain kinds of shots that I think are going to be needed at this course. So in the 6K range, really, this is probably the only guy that I would roster realistically.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my favorite thing to do, find the 6K players, kind of dig deep, kind of try to find somebody that nobody's going to have and see if we can dig something out of the rough here. Like last week.
That's good. Dig this something out of the rough. Good.
So last week, Kevin Toy was the guy that we found, and Kevin Toy came out and absolutely balled out. So just to give you guys some plays of who I'm thinking about here, if I am going to go down to the 6K range, which with what I'm doing, I feel like I'm going to have to do quite often. Kevin Kisner is one at 69, starting here at the top for me. Rocket Mortgage played amazing, got 8th. Travelers, he got 5th. US Open was a little bit disappointing, but the thing that I liked here is that he's had 3 straight tournaments of at least a full stroke gained around the green. He had 4.1 gained on his approach. His off the tee, he's gained. He's had 7 straight weeks of gaining on putting. So I think at 6,900, like what you said earlier, just taking flyers on these players, I think that he's a decent play if you wanted to go there. One person that I feel like I have to talk about just about every week now is Matt Jones. I was wrong about Matt Jones last week. People let me know that I was wrong about Matt Jones last week, which I was fine to eat it if he didn't make it. I just don't think his putting's been as great as what it was before. That's something that's kind of held me off again going into this week, because even though he did play well at the Rocket Mortgage, his approach game is very bad. I mean, he's missing strokes, full strokes too. Like, I mean, I'm just not really for him. His around the green's good. His tee game is, the distance isn't there. The accuracy is somewhat there. It's kind of hit or miss if it's there or not. But his around the greens really the only thing he has going for him for me right now, which is a key stat going into this tournament. If you wanted to take a shot with him, I'm personally not going to because I don't think Matt Jones is safe for this weekend, especially with how strong the field is. Um, my other option
Oh yeah,
is
you gotta bring up our other boy.
oh yeah,
Forgot about him.
Taylor Gooch.
Yep.
So I actually like he was somebody probably the first 6K player that I found and was like, you know what, I actually think that's a good play going into this weekend. He's made it 6 straight cuts. I think that's solid. His around the green has been great. Especially the last couple tournaments at the Travelers, it was 3.2. Memorial was 4.1. The PGA tournament, he had 5.4. He just had a bad putting weekend, which his putter honestly has not been too terrible. He had 1.3 gain at the Travelers, and he's gained 3 straight overall. His approach is high, 2.8, 4.8, 4.6. I think that he's a decent play going into this tournament. I do like Gooch if you guys wanted to drop down to that price point. And then one more guy.
You got one more. I got a couple more after you go. So
Okay. And then Chris Kirk is my last one that I'll roll with here, which we kind of, Greg and I kind of found him before the show. And it's somebody that I've grown into liking as well. His around the green has been really strong. His putting has been decent besides the Travelers. His approach game has been strong. The only thing that we have to worry about with him is his tee game. His off the tee not really gaining anything really the last like 2 months. He hasn't really gained too much or really anything. If anything, he's losing. But I like his short game. I think his short game's great. If he can go into this weekend just somewhat keeping that ball in the fairway, then I think he can be viable to make the cut going into this weekend. Other than that, out of the 6K range, that's it for me. Those are all my plays.
yeah, I'll throw out a couple more names. I was talking to golf guru Gary, which is my dad, and who recently just got into DFS. And the man was telling me lock and load Richard Bland this week. And I was like, what are you talking about?
That's
6,800. Uh,
60.
he's been playing really well. I'm not a huge fan, but this was the guy that was leading the tournament in the US Open after day two. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you're, everyone was like, who is Richard Bland?
Yeah.
He's been playing really well. It was someone my dad goes a lot off on form. So
Yeah.
Bland was one, and then Herbert was the other. Now Herbert, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on. This guy has been on a tear. He's 6,800 as well, 18th, 19th, first, and fourth in his last 4 tournaments. I have to mention him just because he has been so good, and if he plays
Mm-hmm.
well, then you guys will be like, "Oh, Greg talked about Herbert." So
Yeah. Yeah.
up there just because he's been playing really well. Strictly kind of a Euro Tour guy, so this guy knows how to play over there. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's one more. Was I looking at? I had one more guy. Oh, Antoine Rosner, 6,400. This is another Euro guy. He's from France, one of the best ball strikers probably around, but man, does his putting let him down quite often.
Mm-hmm.
You see a couple of good finishes right there. He tends to make the cut. He's a pretty good player, in my opinion. For one of the Euro Tour guys, he performs pretty well in a lot of Euro tournaments. So this is someone if you really need to pivot and play a guy who's going to be 1% or less owned, go to Rosner, Armitage, a couple of other guys that we've mentioned, and then I don't really want to talk too much about him, but Sam Burns, I think he was mispriced. He's 6,300 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm going to be completely honest. I won't be playing him. I think there's better guys than Burns in the 6K range. And maybe I'm just not a Burns fan, but I the US Open missed cut and then the PGA Championship withdraw really rubbed me the wrong way. And
Mm-hmm.
in majors, this guy doesn't get it done. And I'm not going to go to him.
Yeah. The Sam Burns, I know his putting's been good. His around's been decent. The Memorial's kind of where he lost strokes everywhere. I mean, at that price point, if you have to go that low, why not?
Yeah,
Me,
and
honestly.
if you need someone, if you need like 2 or 3 guys that low, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I don't, if he's like 10% owned or 10 to 15, I'm not a Sam Burns fan personally. That's just,
Yeah,
and I don't like to bring emotion into it because I try to be emotionless.
yeah,
But Reed is one, and Sam Burns is kind of one more. I
yeah,
just for some reason I refuse to play. So I don't know.
yeah. I try to keep emotion out of it the best I can as well, and I think Patrick Perez finally broke that emotion play, and I finally think that he's got put on that list. So,
And
um,
one more, I don't want to mention his name because I know you always get upset, Noran.
yeah, I don't know. Norin really just, yeah,
No,
I
yeah,
don't know. I'm not even gonna get into him right now.
don't get
But
me started. After,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I was
yeah,
texting you. I was mad. Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Woo.
It's something, but I'm excited for this week. I hope you guys are as well. I think we have great plays going into this. I feel a lot more confident than I did before the video. Now that we finally talked it out and stuff like that. It's a strong field. There's a lot of plays for you guys out there to go with. Some of them are going to make it, some aren't. A lot of good golfers are going to get cut this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think that we're in line for a great weekend. I see all these plays and I'm going to have exposure to all of them. But you got any final words, Greg?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be tweeting out about our video. For those of you that are still watching, this was probably by far our most informative and best video we've
Mm-hmm.
made. So I really
Yeah.
hope you guys are taking the time to watch this. I
Mm-hmm.
know you have a lot of loyal viewers out there, and we really appreciate you guys. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you for watching each week and liking, commenting, subscribing. We appreciate you. Hopefully you like what we're doing and continue to give us positive feedback so we can do this again come each week. But thank you guys again. And yeah, man, it was fun to do this video. Like you said, I got a lot out of this video. I hope you guys back home did too.
Yeah. So just before Greg and I get off real quick, like he said, thank you guys for all being loyal, watching this video, staying through all the way, especially. With it being a major week and all that stuff, we wanted to give out a little reward for you guys. So I will be tweeting out something. So make sure you follow our Twitter accounts. I'll also post Greg's website down at the bottom for you guys to go through so you can get all his locks and plays and everything like that. And then I'll also have my Core 4 article tomorrow as well. But other than that, guys, thank you guys. Make sure you pay attention to the tweets so you guys can get on the rewards and everything like that. But with that being said, guys, I appreciate it. Good luck in this tournament, and we'll see you later.
See you guys.